o'clock. Okay, please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. Item number 3, public testimony. Anybody not on the agenda may appear before the court at this time. Are you there? Is there anybody, Robert?
No, we haven't.
Nobody?
The sheriff, sir.
Commissioners, you all have any
Sheriff's
public
up there.
comments?
You have him locked,
There he is.
Robert?
Go ahead, Sheriff.
I think he's muted.
He's muted, Robert.
Okay. Are you there?
There you go.
Robert, you got me going?
Yes,
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners.
good
Just
morning.
want to inform you that we've got 54 inmates and 4 females. We also have received our vehicles that we purchased, for the exception of one that had a broken window because of transport, but we should be getting in the next couple of weeks. We are also testing our officers as we go along for this COVID-19 here with our own product, our own program that we have in place. We have the online auction taking place right now. It should end on the 30th of this coming week. It's been going on since the 23rd, so people are bidding on some of the items that are out there available. We also have one opening at the county jail. We're interviewing and testing on that. We are looking at possibly a medical program that will be available to us in the near future that will be cost effective for us as well as to the county. So we visited with those people yesterday. Wanted to also inform you that our interdiction program also was involved in a currency arrest of $200,000 night before last. We also have the generators that were paid for this week and are being installed as we speak. Hopefully we'll have this operation going on. Of course, there's nothing coming our way, it's a hurricane or a storm, so but we're working on that as we speak. So that's all we have for you this morning, Commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Anybody else? Not being any, we'll go to line item number 4. Consider approving minutes from previous meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 5, discuss and consider budget amendment request by Safety Department Sylvia Ramirez to transfer $500 from line item 12-569, 42700 Conference and Associations to line item 12-569, 39000 Miscellaneous Supplies, $150 from line item 12-569, 42700 Conference and Associations to line item 12-569, 57300 Equipment.
Commissioners Court, I have looked over the request, and the request is a good request.
I make a motion. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 6, discuss and consider budget amendment request by, number 6, Justice of the Peace Loose Pies to transfer $400 from line item 12-455, 22500 travel to line item 12-455, 31100 postage, box rental, etc.
Commissioners Court, I have looked at the request and it is a valid request.
I make a motion to accept item number 6 presented, Judge.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 7, consider and approve budget amendment request by Commissioner Precinct 4, Huicho Gonzalez, to transfer $20,000 from account number 24-624-35620 repair materials cold mix to account number 24-624-45300 repair of equipment, transfer with $1,500 from account number 24-624-35000 repair of material building to account number 24-624-46000 rental of space, transferred $4,000 from account number 24-624-35000 repair of material building to account number 24-624-35400 batteries, tires, and tubes.
Commissioners Court, I have looked over the request and it is a valid request.
I make a motion to approve.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Yes, sir. Who seconded?
I didn't hear the second.
You got it?
Yeah.
You got it? Okay. Line item number 8, discuss and take and act upon a proposed resolution presented by Mr. Robert Salazar, Community Action Corporation of South Texas, authorizing county grant program year 2022, Texas Department of Agriculture, Texans Feeding Texans, house delivery meal grant program.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Robert Salazar, and I work with Community Action Corporation of South Texas. Community Action Corporation, or also known as KCOST. You know, we continually strive to improve the lives of South Texans by providing high-quality healthcare, education, housing, and economic opportunities to reduce poverty through services and partnerships. We do that through 5 service divisions: the Head Start, Early Childhood Intervention, our federally qualified health centers, community services, in which senior nutrition is a part of, in our energy programs. A little bit about our senior nutrition program. We provide congregate meals in a congregate setting, and we do that through several locations within the county. And we also provide home-delivered meal programs, home-delivered meals, in which the Texans Feeding Texans program will help us do that. From October to July, we've served over 500 clients, both in the congregate and home-delivered setting. We provided congregate meals in Orange Grove and in Sandia for 2,895 meals, and that was from April to July. The other settings, we're currently doing curbside and/or pickup because of COVID. So as COVID kind of wanes down, we'll continue to try to go back to congregate for the other locations in the county. But we've been served over 80,000 meals in the homebound, which included some of those congregate clients or would-be congregate clients. So in the process of applying for the Texans Feeding Texans grant, the program rules require that the county in which we're providing these services make a grant to the organization. And so in the past, and we're currently also requesting that if the county could continue to help provide that grant in the amount of the $20,000 to be used from January of 2022 through December of 2022.
I'd just like to say that Jimos County has always supported this program. We believe it's a good program. It helps everybody in the county, and we do have the funds available for them.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Robert,
You have to read the resolution.
resolution.
Okay, there's a resolution here somewhere.
If you don't have one, I
Oh, yeah, go ahead. You can read it or we can,
Okay. All right, so the resolution reads, a resolution of the County of Jim Wells County, Texas, certifying that the county has made a grant to Community Action Corporation of South Texas, an organization that provides home-delivered meals to homebound persons in the county who are elderly and/or have a disability, and certifying that the county has approved the organization's accounting system or physical grant. Whereas the organization desires to apply for grant funds from the Texas Department of Agriculture to supplement and extend existing services for homebound persons in the county who are elderly and/or have a disability pursuant to the Home Delivered Meals Grant Program. And whereas the program rules require the county in which the organization is providing home delivered meals to make a grant to the organization in order the organization to be eligible to receive program and grant funds. And whereas the program rules require the county to approve the organization's accounting system or physical agent in order for the organization to be eligible to receive program grant funds, whereas the county recognizes Ann Awat, the executive director, as an official of the organization applying for a home delivered meal grant from the Texas Department of Agriculture. Be it resolved by the county hereby certifies that it has made a grant to the organization in the amount of $20,000 to be used between the 1st of January 2022 and the 31st of December 2022. The county hereby certifies that the organization provides home delivered meals to homebound persons in the county who are elderly and/or have a disability. The county hereby certifies that it has approved the organization's accounting system or physical agent, which means financial management system requirements as set forth in the Texas Grant Management Standards promulgated by the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts.
thank you, appreciate it.
And if you need a copy,
I think we have one, I just didn't want to dig through it.
no problem.
I
Thank you.
think so. Okay, line item number 9, consider and take actions to renew lease between Jim Wells County and the estate of Ethel Ingle King, 109 East South Main, Fremont, Texas.
Actually, that's a building where K-Cost does all the elderly people come and eat, so I'd like to make a motion
Make
to
a
approve
motion?
item to accept.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, line item number 10, consider and take action to renew lease between Jim Wells County and George O. Dominguez Jr., County Road 440, Ellis, Texas.
That's the place where we used to go burn all our brush and at the precinct.
I make a motion to approve.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 11, consider and take action to renew lease between Jim Wells County and Michael R. Canales, County Road 403, Falfurrias, Texas.
That'll be the 2 trash trailers that we have located in the Gloria area that covers that community, sir. Good. Oh,
Made a motion?
but I'll make a motion here, go ahead.
There's a
A
You
second.
seconded? There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 12. Consider and take action to renew lease between Jim Wells County and Laura A. Savetta, County Road 7, Farm to Market Road 716, Ellis, Texas.
That'll be the ones on 716 northwest of Fremont that covers that area.
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay. Presentation of TDA Form 1024 CDBG, Section 3, Goals and Concepts as relates to the CDBG program, and Texas CDBG project 7218095 and 7218105. There's a presentation.
Rachel Thomas.
Is there anybody? There he is.
She
There
needs
is.
to unmute.
Unmute her, she's probably on mute, Robert.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Rachel Thomas. I'm a project manager at GrantWorks. I'm helping the county administer the CDBG grants they currently have. And TDA issued a revised Section 3 rule policy issuance in July this year. And this applies to all projects receiving CDBG funds. As part of this policy issuance, localities are required to present the Section 3 CDBG program goals in a commissioner's court meeting. So that's what this presentation is. Afterwards, there's no action required. I just need to present the goals. And I sent Linda a copy of it. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but I can just read through the presentation on my end.
Is that it?
No.
Yeah, do you have a resolution or?
There's no resolution. It's just a presentation that I
Okay,
was
the
going to read
presentation,
through.
okay.
Yeah. But so I'll just go ahead and get started. Jim Wells County currently has 2 CDBG grant projects with the Texas Department of Agriculture. The first one, the contract number is 7218095. We often nickname this one Alice Acres, as it's taking place in Alice Acres, Colonia. The award amount was for $500,000, and this project is to install new water lines, chlorination equipment, hydrants, first-time water connections, and associated appurtenances. The second grant project Jim Wells County currently has is contract number 7218105, and that's taking place in the K-Bar, Colonia. This one's also, the award amount is for $500,000, and similarly, it's to install new water lines, hydrants, first-time connections, and associated appurtenances. The grant is funded through the Community Development Block Grant via the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development at the federal level, and at the state level, it's administered through the Texas Department of Agriculture. As a condition of funding, the city must comply, or the locality must comply with the Section 3 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968. And to the greatest extent feasible, grant recipients must direct economic opportunities generated by CDBG funds to low and very low income persons. In part, this means ensuring that Section 3 businesses have the information to submit a bid or proposal for the project, and Section 3 workers have information about any available job opportunities related to the project. So defining a company that may qualify as a Section 3 business, that's if it is owned by low-income persons, it is owned by Section 8 assisted housing residents, or 75% of all labor hours for the business in a 3-month period are performed by Section 3 workers. And Section 3 businesses can register their information at HUD's Section 3 website. Contracting opportunities related to these grant projects. At this point in the project, both projects, we have procured all of the necessary services. So the grant administration, that's being performed by GrantWorks. Engineering services is being performed by R.E. Garcia and Associates, and the prime contractors for both projects have been procured, and that's the 5125 company and Houston Flatworks. You may qualify as a Section 3 worker if your annual income is below the county threshold for your family size. In this case, a family size of 1. They qualify as a Section 3 worker if their income is less than $33,000 a year. And Section 3 workers can register their information at workintexas.gov or HUD's Section 3 opportunity portal. And with this new policy issuance, HUD and TDA have created a targeted Section 3 worker, and that is defined as if a Section 3 worker is located and lives within 1 mile of the project area. And there is a map of that in the slides in the presentation. So the grant recipient will track all hours worked on the project. In this case, because GrantWorks is the grant administrator, we will track all hours worked on the project by all workers, all Section 3 workers, and all targeted Section 3 workers. And the last slide is references and links to the actual policy issuance, if anybody has any questions about that. But at this time, no action is required on your end. Do you all have any questions for me?
Is there any question, Commissioner?
No, as a matter of fact, right now they're installing the main lines and water lines.
Yep, they are working on their way to getting the construction moving. Good news. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Okay, we go to line item number 14, consider and approve resolution 2021 to 2023, authorizing Jim Wells County to support B Development Authority application to the United States Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, EDA, under the American Rescue Act plan. There's Commissioner Gonzalez will read the resolution.
A resolution authorizing Jim Wells County to support B Development Authority's application to U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration under the American Rescue Plan Act 2021, requesting a grant in the amount of up to $5 million to provide the needed critical infrastructure required for the development of the business park, B Development Authority Regional Industrial Park, to be located along Farm Market 202 on the southeast of the city of Beeville, including water, wastewater, drainage system, pipelines, and road construction utilizing resilient designs. Whereas Jim Wells County deems it necessary and proper to support the B Development Authority's effort to provide critical infrastructure required for the development of the B Development Authority Regional Industrial Park. Whereas Jim Wells County believes their actions to be in the public's interest and to protect the health and safety of its residents. Now therefore, let it be resolved by the county that Jim Wells County Commissioners Court hereby endorses the construction of the critical infrastructure required for the development of the business park to be located along Farm to Market 202 on the southeast of the city of Beeville.
Any questions?
We need to vote.
Yeah, we need to vote, but is there any questions on the commissioners? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
And what is this gonna be used for? The water?
I don't know.
Water, wastewater drainage system? Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I don't have any of this information that y'all are being presented, but I was wondering if there was a representative from B here to answer some of these
we're
questions.
just supporting, is this B County, Yolanda, or what?
Yes, but Larry might have some background too. I just question, is this going to support jobs for Jim Wells County? And
I really
is it
don't.
something that you all do often, or no?
Sandra, is this something that the city, are we gonna be getting water or anything from B?
I just-
I don't know if, I know Judge Rodriguez is working on a project with GLO in conjunction with other neighboring counties. I don't know if this is a part of that program or not. Because there were some issues in regards to drainage and how adjoining counties were gonna help Jim Wells to be able to proceed and go forward. I'm not sure if that's that project or not.
Did they submit any,
I don't think there's any action other than Jim Wells County will support
the resolution, their
the
application,
resolution. That-
correct?
Actually,
You're
there's really, we have nothing other than just support
Yes.
for B County.
And it's mostly, it looks like it's a regional application,
Yeah, right.
and you support each other when you do, I'm assuming that when you submit.
Whatever they're doing, we're
The more-
supporting.
It's almost like a letter of support.
A letter of support.
Yeah, right.
So,
Thank you.
Yes, Ron.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept item number 14 is presented.
Rachel, I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, line item number 15. Consider and approve resolution 2021 through 2024, authorizing the Jim Wells County to apply for EDA in Economic Development Administration, EDA, under the American Rescue Act Plan 2021. There's the
In the
other,
amount of 5,500,000.
yeah, okay. The amount of 5,500,000, actually. Go ahead.
Larry's gonna speak.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is in reference to a plan that we discussed last year and which we had applied, and it was some monies that were available through EDA back before the other rescue plan. This is an additional, a new pot of money. So we're reapplying under that plan with the same conditions that we did the last time. This authorizes the judge to be able to sign and apply for the $5.5 million in conjunction with a company that we're looking at bringing into Jim Wells County. It's pretty much logistically just the authorization for him to do that. Nothing changes. There's a play in there where there'll be no money to be spent by the county. The 20% match is, and there's a letter in file, is going to be put up by the company that's wanted to relocate here in town or to expand here in town. So there'll be no money spent from coffers of the Jim Wells County.
So it is a company that's already in town.
It's a company, yes, ma'am, that's looking to expand.
It's the same way.
We're looking at hopefully anywhere from 150 and 200 jobs, maybe a little bit more, depends on how it works out.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Larry.
Did you want to read the resolution? I have a copy of it here.
Resolution
Oh, yeah, we got it.
2021
We got it.
dash
Thank you.
024. A resolution authorizing Jim Wells County officials to apply and execute documents related to said application assistance under the rules and regulations of U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration under the American Rescue Plan Act 2021. Whereas Jim Wells County, Texas deems it necessary and proper to apply for EDA in the amount of up to $5,500,000 under the rules and regulations of U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration under the American Rescue Act 2021. Now therefore be it resolved by the above named applicant, Jim Wells County Judge Juan Rodriguez Jr., as the signatory agent of the application for this funding to U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration under the Texas Rescue Act 2021 on behalf of Jim Wells County, Texas. Jim Wells County Judge Juan Rodriguez Jr. is hereby authorized to act on behalf of Jim Wells County, Texas, in all matters related to the application. Jim Wells County, Texas commits to the required 20% match. I thought we were not gonna have to pay anything.
That's why I said there's a letter filed that stipulates the owner of the company.
But it's only if it passed, right? That's what it was.
That's correct, it's all contingent too.
It's only if it passed.
We had negotiated under the agreement that the individual was gonna put 20% match. And that's it, and Mr. Guerra should have that information before.
It's the same one we did last year. wasn't
Yes,
it?
I know, but
Same process.
since it says that Jim Wells County,
Yeah.
that's it.
Only if it's approved.
As proved and adopted on this 27th day of August, 2021.
Okay, was there a motion on this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you,
already-
Larry.
Thank you for your support, appreciate it. This is luck.
Good luck.
Good luck, hope it goes through. Okay, number 16, certification of funds by county auditor for the American Rescue Plan Act from the Treasury in the amount of $3,931,577. Certified funds to be used for expenditures of the American Rescue Plan.
Commissioners Court, August 27, 2021. Commissioners Court, pursuant to local government code 111.0108, I hereby certify that Jimbo's County has received $3,931,577 for the American Rescue Plan Act, which will be Fund 27. These proceeds came from the Treasury Department and they're available for expenditures. These ARPA funds 27 are for the expenditures to be incurred by ARPA Fund 27, and that such proceeds are available for the appropriate expenditures. This certification allows for the addition of these funds to the 2021 budget as an amendment. Since these expenditures will be funded and paid for by ARPA number 27 fund, I hereby request the following budget amendment to the 2021 Jimbo's County budget. ARPA fund number 27 proceeds, and that is under 27,000,333.25 of $3,931,577. And that's the revenue line item. The expenditures are professional services, 27,401,407.00 for $50,000. And we have reserve for contingency 27,401,999.00, $3,881,577. And if you have any questions or need additional information, please don't hesitate to call me.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept item number 16 is presented.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Line item passes. Okay. Line item number 17, hear presentation and receive update from consultant Yolanda Sosa Moran, Community Concept Management Strategist on the American Rescue Plan Act. Discuss, consider, and act on preparing a strategy plan on the best practices and use of American Rescue Plan 2021 State and Local Physical Recovery Fund. Discuss framework to engage community participation to assist and explore how the fund can best align with Jimbo's County priorities. Yolanda?
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you this morning?
Good.
Today, we're going to do Larry Martinez with EDC and myself. We're doing a two-part presentation. The first presentation will be regarding the eligible uses. I know some of the commissioners were not present during the selection of the consultants, so we thought we'd come back and just do a brief presentation on some of the eligible uses. We are receiving questions about whether or not certain items or projects are eligible. So we wanted just to do a brief summary. And as I stated at the previous Commissioners Court meeting, we will be visiting with each of the commissioners and also visiting with each department and we'll be handing out a form, but we'll discuss that in more details in the second part of the presentation. So if we can do the first part, the other one, the ARPA. So as Mr. Gomez stated earlier, we did receive the first tranche. The 7.8 million will be paid in two tranches. We did receive the first tranche. And if we can go to the next slide. Some of the key highlights here, of course, is that the funds cover costs from March 3rd through December 31st of 2024. So we can recoup some of the costs that we incurred during March 3rd, 2021. There is no deadline for the counties to certify their funds. We've already done that. We certified our funds and we received our first tranche. The recovery funds can be distributed into an interest-bearing account, and we're not required to pay that interest back. And Mr. Gomez has already inform the Commissioners Court that it is in an interest-bearing account. So we will get to keep some of that monies to be used for other eligible projects. Let's see, the next slide, please. So the recovery funds can be used to cover the costs of consultants, and we have already designated a line item for that. The other thing is we've already changed that CFDA number. No, did we get that changed over? It needs to be the 21027, taking care of that. And the county has complete discretion on how to use some of these funds as long as they fall within the eligible uses. And I know currently in checking with our National Association of Counties and with TAC, there's been a lot of questions on what are some of these eligible projects, because this is a fairly new thing. There's still a lot of questions on some of these eligible projects. So if anyone has any questions, I encourage them to reach out to the commissioners or to myself. Next slide, please. We do have a deadline to do the first, what we call the interim report, that's due August 31st. That report has been completed. We're waiting on the judge. I will be submitting that to the judge today for his signature. So let's talk about some of the allowable uses under the recovery funds. The recovery funds can be used for what we consider public health responses. And that can go towards medical expenses, behavioral health care, and certain public health and safety staff. We can also replace revenue loss that the county may have had during the pandemic. We can replace some of that revenue loss. There is a formula that must be followed, and that revenue loss will have to fit in within that formula. So
Excuse me,
yes.
I have a question for you. I know I called you the other day and asked you the question about regarding that fire truck in Sandia.
Yes, sir.
Did that fall in that
Under,
public?
we are looking at under the public health response, yes, sir. And I'm waiting an answer on that, because there are so many communities out there. I did some research. There are some communities out there that are in the same situation where they're asking whether or not certain projects, and one of them was, for example, a fire truck, and waiting for a response to see if that would fall under an eligible use. However, there is some additional funding sources that I researched that we would could possibly pursue that as well. And probably I would recommend maybe doing that first. And that way we reserve these monies for additional projects. So that funding source will be opening up soon, and I'll visit with you, Commissioner Gonzalez, on that as well. Also, eligible projects are water and sewer infrastructure, and that's to make the necessary investments to improve access to clean drinking water and invest in wastewater and stormwater infrastructure. What that means is that under the Safe Drinking Water and the Clean Water Drinking Act, there's a list of eligible projects that we could possibly consider using some of these funds for. So as long as they follow the Clean Water and the Safe Drinking Water Act, we can definitely look at doing some of these projects under water and sewer infrastructure.
I know I had a grant that I had got to put water on County Road 111 and 117, Howell Road. But we didn't have enough servers, so we had to move. And the people that live on 111, there's like 5 families, and they're elderly. They've been having to haul their own water. So that would probably be something that we could
Definitely consider that.
Of course, we would have to vote and all that.
Yes, definitely consider that. This is one category where they've given broad discretion as to how to be used. But again, I would caution the commissioners that we follow what projects are eligible under the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act, because they cannot be used for like general fund projects to improve our streets or to add, upgrade our, we have to be really careful on how we address that. So I will definitely be researching that to make sure that any projects that you have in mind, that they do fall within those eligible categories. Also, address negative economic impacts. That could be in the form of any economic impacts or harms that were done to workers, employees, kind of can see small businesses, individual family assistance, and some example of some of those projects are that you could create a grant program for small businesses where they could apply to help them offset some of their revenue loss during the pandemic when some of these businesses closed. There are I do have different examples of how we could create that program and structure it should you decide to take that approach. Also families, individual assistance to families that were impacted by the pandemic. So all of this, the key structure is here that these projects all have to qualify and meet the pandemic COVID-19. For example, utilities assistance, food assistance. We have food insecurities with families. We could structure these programs with, for example, there is rental assistance, and they have all the categories on how a person would qualify for that. So if you had any questions, well, who would be eligible, who wouldn't, I definitely have the program and how we would structure that should you decide to do something like that. And then, of course, we have the premium pay for essential workers, and that would offer additional support to those who had to work in the greatest health, then were under the greatest health risks because of their service in the critical infrastructure sectors. What that means is, your public safety people or workers, employees that were out there during the pandemic holding the vaccine clinics or working out in public safety, you could offer them additional premium pay as well. And again, I have some additional information should you choose to want to know more about how that would be structured and how that would work. And finally, broadband infrastructure. Again, because of the pandemic, a lot of the employees had to work away from home. Schools shuttered, and we had the students working from home, especially the students in the rural communities where the broadband infrastructure isn't significant enough. So they struggled with access to broadband. Also, you have socioeconomic issues where people couldn't afford the broadband internet services. So there are some programs under this category if we wanted to look into expanding broadband into some of the rural communities where they lack significant internet access. I will tell you that this, through the US Treasury, they highly recommend that we look into broadband infrastructure in our rural communities.
One of the biggest things that they're pushing.
That's one of the things that they really would like to see happening. So next slide, please. So again, here are some examples under the negative economic impacts category that I talked about. Under workers and families, you could apply assistance to unemployed workers and job training. That would be working with your workforce development and partnering with them. You could provide the food insecurity that we talked about earlier, housing, cash, and other assistance to households. Survivors benefits for family members of COVID-19 victims. I would like to take a little bit of time right here just to interject something. There is under the FEMA, there is a funeral assistance program that families can go who have lost family members to COVID and don't have the means or insurance to pay for funerals. There is that assistance, and I will be bringing flyers to the judge's office so we can place that somewhere or and share with the commissioners if you know of families that may need that assistance. Small businesses, again, we could create loans and grants to mitigate some of that financial hardship that some of our small businesses are struggling with to get back. You could do some in-kind assistance to implement COVID-19 prevention or mitigation tactics, or technical assistance. Those fall under the small businesses. Those are some of the eligible uses that we could do if in using some of these. The public sector, if Jim Wells County had to lay off some staff because of the COVID, you could use some of these funds to rehire those employees. You can replenish your state unemployment insurance fund if needed, and that was something you'd be interested in. And then, of course, administer economic relief programs under the public sector. And then there is something called the impacted tourist industries, and that is for helping out our local tourism here, our hotels that suffered, travel and hospitality, and other similarly affected sectors. That would also be an eligible category under impacted industries. It could also be used for small businesses that were also impacted under industries, small industries. Next page, please. The equity focused services, the U.S. Treasury Department again wants to focus on equity, disparity, and community. They want you to focus on areas that are impacted under what is called the census qualified track, where your low income or those populations that have been really impacted by the COVID, if there are certain areas that were impacted, they want the Treasury Department would like to see us focus on using some of those funds for serving those areas that were mostly impacted by COVID-19. So you have, you can address health disparities, community health workers, public benefits navigators. What that means is if you had someone who was assisting in trying to find different public benefits that an individual could qualify for, if you had a position like that, or you could create a position like that, that would help, your constituents get assistance. I know that you all have done that a lot in helping your constituents find different venues on where to find assistance. You could definitely create a position for that. Let's see. And then, of course, you have your community violence intervention programs. What that is, we're seeing a lot, and I believe the sheriff's attested to this. We're seeing a lot of the COVID-19 has impacted our mental health issues, an increase in mental health, substance abuse, and sometimes we want to see some of those that they end up in our jail facilities, and because of COVID, they've had to separate them, or because of those issues. So you could certainly look at creating something like that. Perhaps maybe the jail expansion would fall under that, if you would wanted to consider that. Housing in neighborhoods, you could support individuals experiencing homelessness, affordable housing development, if you wanted to bring in some kind of housing development in some of your rural areas. You could certainly use some of these monies for that. Housing vouchers, residential counseling, and navigation assistance. Again, that's helping individuals find resources that they might need. Educational disparities, this would be working with the schools and nonprofit organizations that provide some of these educational services. You could expand or work with those that provide early learning services, expand resources for high poverty school districts. If there's a certain census tract that has a high poverty area, you could certainly look at providing services for that. And of course, helping schools with tutoring and after-school programs. And finally, under the equity focused, you have promoting early childhood environments, expanding childcare, providing children and families with early childhood health care. Next page. And again, I talked earlier about how these programs the U.S. Treasury would like to see that we serve underserved communities, that our focus should be where is this need and who was impacted mostly by this COVID-19. And it says, look for programs that will serve highly qualified census tracts. And I have all that information. So when we start looking at projects, I will guide the commissioners into looking and making sure that we're covering some of these underserved communities. So I bring all this up, commissioners, so that y'all can start thinking, and that is the purpose of why we're here today, so we can, get you all going as to what, and then we'll talk, Larry and I are going to talk about how we're going to do some of these meetings and get input from the community participation. That's on the next slide, on the next presentation. Again, the water and sewer infrastructure, I talked about how you could look at building and upgrading facilities and transmission lines, distribution lines, storage systems, including replacement of lead service lines, wastewater infrastructure projects, including constructing publicly owned treatment infrastructure plants, managing and treating stormwater or subsurface drainage water, facility water reuse, and securing public-owned treatment works. And all of these projects need to address areas that are impacted or have to do with our climate change. And again, you want to align these projects with your Clean Water State Revolving Fund and your Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. They have, these two categories have different eligible projects, and we will steer the commissioners in making sure that we fall within those categories. Next slide, please. So finally, some of the questions I put up here just so that you can see the different ways that these are questions. Again, this was a presentation that was put out by the National Association of Counties. And one of the questions is, may recipients use funds to assist impacted industries? Yes, the recipients can consider the extent of the impact in such industries as compared to tourism, travel, and hospitality. The industries enumerated in the statute are due to COVID pandemic and exposed to long-term economic or industrial trends. And that was what I talked about. We could help some of the small industries here. Would improving outdoor space, for example, parks, be an eligible use? Yes, if they are responsive to the needs of disproportionately impacted communities and promote healthy living environments. Again, this is an eligible project because they want to see us bring our individuals into a healthy living environment and having open space and parks available, so those that have had COVID can go and possibly, use the facilities to get back to a better, healthy living environment. 3, would expenses address COVID-related backlog in court cases be an eligible use? Yes, steps to reduce backlog include hiring additional court staff or attorneys and other expenses to expedite cases, resolution, or eligible expenses. Here, I've had some staff approach us about whether or not we could, the purchase of laptops. I know that the county recently has had to look at possibly working from home and whether or not there's the sufficient infrastructure to support the employees working at home, and whether or not that would be a program that would monitor while they're working at home, or supplying the laptops or the needed equipment for that. That would certainly be something that we could get some clearance on if the commissioners would like to look at something like that as well. Public safety. Funds can be used to support communities working to reduce increased violence. Example, community violence intervention programs, including the mental health services, to hiring public safety personnel. You could use it for technology, substance abuse programs. This here would fall under, probably like the jail expansion would fall under a healthcare, because it's considered where you've had to congregate as a care facility, where you have to separate your COVID patients that are incarcerated. So definitely, I know, and I listed some counties and communities. For example, Craighead County in Arkansas is looking to use some of their money for jail expansion for inmates to be able to quarantine them. Ohio's helping, is looking to use those funds to help reduce overcrowding. And finally, Potter County and Amarillo is looking at building a detention center. And I just gave you some examples so that hopefully, you know, that can kind of give you a little leeway on what some of these funds can be used for. I believe that concludes. This right here is one of the important things about what the Treasury Department is saying is not only did counties and cities and states receive monies, but so did other funding sources. For example, if you're looking to do some infrastructure, these are some of the funding sources that received money as well. Your state fiscal recovery fund, the coronavirus capital projects. This is one of the ones I'm looking at. Perhaps we can get the fire truck. And also you have, of course, the EDA, public infrastructure. If you wanted to do public facilities, these are some of the lists of some of the funding sources that are available. They also received monies to be able to provide some of the projects that we might consider going after. And the whole idea is just to show you that these are some of the categories and that we could definitely look at some of these funding sources and preserve our ARPA funds as a last resort and try to get some of these funds. So finally, just a readiness checklist for us is, of course, review all the eligible uses, research any funding availability. I just talked about that. Identify your key constituents who will and should benefit from the funds. Those are the areas I talked about, the low income, socioeconomic, demographic, census tracts. And then, of course, develop and communicate a plan for stakeholder involvement in your strategic funding process. Consider diversity and inclusion among your stakeholders. Larry and I are going to talk about how we came up with a plan on how we're going to do this with the Commissioners Court. Also formulate a strategic funding plan that establish the priorities for your community, your constituents. And then, of course, create an investment plan for the funding. We do have that. Mr. Gomez has, you know, in the Treasurer's Office have worked with that on creating an interest account. And then, of course, examine and make sure that we are within the funding compliance requirements. We are going to require a single audit requirement, and I will be coming back to the Commissioners Court to go out for an RFQ to hire an accountant or someone in order to do our single audit requirement. That is going to be required. That's one of the compliances that we will need to be doing. And at this point, I'm done with this presentation. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to how we're going to do the stakeholders and the community meetings?
So I know I had asked you about, because I've had a family calling in reference to their son worked in the oil field and they got laid off because there was no work during the COVID, and he's losing his home. And she's called several times because she had seen that there was monies for mortgage.
There is a program at the state level that's part of the rental assistance program. There is one also for mortgage assistance. I can definitely help you get that information for you and guide that family in seeing. But there are a lot of other funding opportunities, and you would even could consider under the individual assistance that we talked about, if you wanted to do some help for some of these families who you know, don't qualify. For example, Nueces County, because they are a big county, if you go on their website, they have a rental assistance program, but they got direct monies for that. Apart from their American Rescue funds, they also got monies, and most of the bigger communities and cities got monies for that. Unfortunately, Jim Wells County, we didn't get specific funding for that. So they have a program for rental assistance. However, Jim Wells County, if you wanted to look at something like that, you could certainly do it using some of these, set aside some of these funds, you know, a certain amount for rental assistance or mortgage assistance or food insecurities, and all of that the question will be, well, who's going to qualify, or, how do you can't include everybody? No, but there is a structured plan that I would work with you all to, you have to meet certain income criteria. It had to have been COVID-19 pandemic as a result of job loss. We would set the parameters on that type of program if you wanted to provide that for your, different community constituents. And same thing with the small businesses. You could structure grants or you could structure loans. And the question is, okay, who could apply for that? Who would qualify? We would work to create the criteria and bring it back to the Commissioners Court, and of course for approvals and all that. I could bring you example after example of cities and counties who are doing different, it's all how you want to use your funds and be creative on how you want to make the biggest impact for your community. And my job and Larry's is that we're going to work together with you all on behalf of economic development assistance and working with projects. What I would recommend, and it's like maybe looking at, because I'm not sure how you plan to use the monies, but perhaps each commissioner would have some money set aside for their precinct, and then have one big project, because the goal is to look down the road, the future, and say, wow, we used our American Rescue funds to build this, or we brought this, or we created economic growth and we helped this. So that is what we want to look at down the road, that we make a big impact. So, one big project perhaps, and then, set aside some funds for each precinct and then have a project in there. I mean, these are just suggestions. I see communities doing that. What we want to do, of course, is create jobs, create economic growth, and then down the future that we have done something that has impacted our community in a large, significant way.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
We were talked that we were gonna do a committee from different people in the different areas from
Yes.
community. So you're gonna meet her here pretty quick? You're gonna get them together?
I'm not sure I heard
Like, he's asking about the community meetings.
yes, we're going to talk about it right now.
Oh,
That's
okay.
our next presentation. So we're done with this unless you have,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
We're
Go ahead
finished.
with
Go
the
ahead with your
Yes, okay.
presentation.
So you want to go into the next one? And this is about how we're going to create those community meetings and how we're going to bring stakeholders to the table. One of the things that the U.S. Treasury Department, again, strongly suggests, now we do not have to do this. It's not a requirement that we comply with having community participation, but in the interest of transparency to our community and to our individuals who have been impacted by COVID-19, they want to see how these funds are going to be used. They want to have a voice in how we're going to do this. So we're going to talk about how do we bring community participation and how we're going to work with that. Next slide. So, of course, the Treasury guidance urges communities to engage in the development of community participation, equality, and diversity. So when we're thinking about projects and how we're going to use this money, these are the things they stress that you look at. How do we bring the community together? How is this going to be an equality program where everyone's going to get served? And then, of course, diversity, that we focus on the populations that were mostly impacted by this. Okay, next. So the value of having community participation is that you have the pandemic, of course, has shifted what our priorities are now. We've all been impacted by it. So we want to talk about that. Transparency and accountability for these funds. We want our community to know that we're going to be as transparent and accountable for these funds. And of course, we want to build a sense of community and pride in knowing that we received input from them. And then, of course, this will help us measure how we're going to invest those funds. So what do we need to do? We need to assess government operations and the community needs in order to develop a plan. So we're going to need a plan, right? So how do we get that plan? We're going to gather the team. We're going to include internal and external stakeholders. And what do I mean by that? I mean staff. and people from the community, small businesses, faith-based organizations. And I know some of you all already have some of your stakeholders in mind. So, but I'm just giving you, these are the people that you want to bring to the table. Staff and stakeholders, you want to talk to the professional services here. We want to, of course, use our revenue sources strategically. We want to be very strategic on how we use these monies. We want to prioritize, of course, stabilizing our physical plant, make sure that we are healthy in our physical funds. And of course, we want people to return back to work and maintain records and documents. And that's what we're doing. That's when we come up here and we talk, we're keeping a record of what we're doing. And finally, they encourage that when we do these groundbreaking projects or that we are going to have community meetings, invite our congressional delegation, let them know what we're doing, because remember, they were part of helping bring these funds to us. So I will definitely be working and reaching out to them. We want them to be a part of this. We want them to be a part of our community. Next slide, please. So these are the partners, community-based organizations, your schools, your businesses, and of course, other government agencies and nonprofits, for example, EDC. Larry and I have been talking about. Larry, has gone out to Fremont, and what other places, Larry?
Mostly Fremont, seen some of their concepts and their ideas, and actually visited with some of the people and what their concerns are. They're having an issue with their bypass and how they're going to keep economic development and the jobs that they're created there. So we're trying to help them implement ideas and concepts to be able to get over that hump. So these monies should be beneficial and essential to do that. Same thing could apply for Orange Grove as well, your area as well, Margie. And everyone's got a vested interest in how we put this monies together and how we can help our constituents. And Yolanda's absolutely correct. It's all about transparency, what we do for others. It makes people feel really good when they know that they're listening to us. In this case, y'all are listening to the people in your areas and asking, well, what is it you need and what is it you want? We're not going to get everything that we want, but we're sure going to make an effort to try to do the things that have the biggest key here is the biggest impact of what we do for our county. So we want to be able to come back and say, man, we did this project and it worked well. It created this amount of jobs moving forward. It created a positive environment for the community. It just made people feel good, and we were able to move forward with this project. So that's going to be a real key here on how we develop that and do that. And we do it by going to the cities, ask them to come in and come talk to us. Let's sit down, have a cup of coffee. Tell me what you think we need to do and how we need to do it, whether it be through the council or the mayors of these cities or just the individual person or the business owners there. So there's a lot of people that are willing and wanting to come and talk so that we can listen to them. And this is the most important thing, is how we listen to others and how we try to achieve our goals as a team. This is what the beauty of it. I really congratulate you for taking this effort, because other people don't do this. This is going to be a lot of work, but it's a lot of effort, but it's exciting because we're actually asking people that they might not have asked for before, that, hey, we're going to help you out. Tell me what you need. So this is really a really good program, I think. And Yolanda did a real good job. It's a lot of information, guys, but I think it's real positive information. And I think it's going to go forward. And it's going to be a really strong point for Jim County.
Yeah, key is the community input. And I commend this Commissioner's Court for having the interest to proceed in doing these stakeholder meetings. So how do we set those up? So we're going to engage residents. They're going to be part of your decision making. They're going to help you. We're going to narrow down. We're going to have meetings. We're going to do resident comments, town hall meetings, focus groups, surveys, and polls. These are all ways you can do it. We're not going to do all of these. These are just to give you some ideas on how you can engage the residents. Possibly looking at maybe some town hall meetings in each of your precincts or areas that you cover. So next slide, please. So there's different types of engagement. And I think this is, the first one is called the no tech. And I think this is the one that, from what I understand, some of your commissioners may consider wanting to do. And that's the in-person listening sessions, where you're going to have your stakeholders and invite some of the citizens from residents from that community, and have the stakeholders be part of the participation and hear from your constituents. And we'll have these meetings, we'll have our board, we'll hold little meetings together. We have to create the plan. And if this is not an action item, but I will come back and present a plan on how we're going to do these meetings. And if you guys are good to go, we'll start our meetings. I'll give you a timeline in a minute. So this is the one I recommend. The no tech strategy is, of course, You could hold a series of, oh, that's the one I was just mentioning, the host of series of listening sessions in each of the commissioners' precincts. And then, of course, you want city and county coordination. You definitely want to involve the city and bring the city to the table. And because in the long run, some of these projects you could probably use, combine and collaborate your resources. You know how I talked about one big project? And so you definitely want to include your city council and your administrators and bring them to the table and talk about what is needed. How can we utilize and combine our resources together? So definitely want to keep them and let them know what we're doing. So that's the no-tech strategy. The low-tech strategy, of course, is we do no community meetings, no stakeholders, and we do everything virtual, either through online surveys on the county's website, or we launch a community impact survey, and we use like a local organization, maybe like EDC or the chamber, to help us, launch that survey. And then, of course, you have your high-tech strategy. This one is a little more involved, it's a little more costly. So that's using GIS mapping to find the areas that were impacted by COVID and trying to focus projects in those areas. So those are the three ways that we could do our community participation. Next slide, please. And so here's the steps we're going to need to create what we want to do. The end result, the objective is we're going to create a plan that's going to be equitable and is going to serve those populations that we talked about. So what level of engagement are we going to use? We're going to use the community stakeholders. That's going to be your team. You're going to create a team from each of your precincts. And then you're going to have staff on that team. You're going to have organizations. I talked about maybe looking at some nonprofit organization. You want to bring someone there, a business, school, the faith-based organizations, of course, our city government, and EDC, the chamber. That could be our stakeholders. And then that team is going to go and hold those community meetings. And of course, we'll have the judge there and each commissioner there to talk about what we're doing. And again, that goes all back to your accountability and your transparency. You want your constituents to know how we're going to be using the funds. Who should we engage? Of course, families, individuals, schools, organizations, and of course the government, other government sources. And how should we do this? We're going to hold community meetings in each commissioner's precinct. Is that what we talked about, Larry?
That's correct.
Okay, and then of course, how are we going to measure that we were successful? Well, we're going to keep demographic data on each of the meetings that we hold. Who was there, what census tract is this? So we're going to have the community data that shows that we were reaching out those that were mostly fall within those socioeconomic data. And then, of course, finally, we're going to implement the final projects. We're going to summarize everything. We're going to present it to the Commissioners Court and say, these are what we came up with based on all the community participation and meetings you held with your constituents. Next slide, please. And here's the timeline for the project. This is not etched in stone. I just kind of thought that we would start meeting with the stakeholder team. Have your teams ready that you want to appoint. Larry and I will work on creating some kind of a participation plan on how we're going to approach these meetings. How we're going to do it. I talked about how we're going to keep notes, and we're going to have little groups, and we're going to talk about, what they see their needs are in their communities. We'll have each commissioner there. And then in October, we hope to get that feedback from the community. We're going to build the project plan, because by then we'll start getting ideas of what the community, after having these meetings, we're going to start building up a project plan to present to the commissioners. November, we will present that to the commissioners. And then in December and January, we're going to have something that we can start operating with. Again, this is not etched in stone. It'll, we got holidays that come up and you guys are working on a budget. So, but I just kind of wanted to give you some kind of preliminary time frame. And I believe that's it.
I guess at some
Larry?
point though, this is real time consuming. It was a lot of information. I'm sorry we kind of took a little long.
I know.
But at some point, y'all might want to consider having just a separate agenda item just for this. It gives us a lot of time to be able to discuss these issues and present some of the findings and have some really good discussions. So just for your thought, I know the judge and I had talked about that and he was pretty supportive. So whatever the wishes of the Commissioners Court are, I guess we're here at your liberty to work together to come up with a plan. But again, I can't thank you enough for wanting to implement this plan, and it's gonna be a really good thing. And remember, transparency in every dollar that is spent has to meet the criteria. There are gonna be some naysayers that say, well, they use that money for something else. No, it's
Put it
not
in
gonna be
your
that
pocket.
way. It's gonna be dedicated money under the federal plan, and everything has to be accounted for.
We're gonna spend 4 million at a time.
Yeah, and the good part about this community participation, accountability, and transparency is that you will be letting your constituents know that how this money is going to be used. And so I applaud the Commissioners Courts for approaching this. I apologize, it was a long presentation, but I wanted you guys to get going and thinking and knowing what those eligible projects are. I will be creating a project sheet that we will be using, and I'd like to possibly, if the commissioners meet with the department staffs and see what their needs are as well, because remember we talked about staffing needs as well. So there's a sheet that will identify what their needs are.
We're gonna give y'all some homework. I'm sorry about that.
The American Rescue Plan is very important. So, you know, I'm glad you took the time and went through it, and I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking to you, it's, you know, as we go.
Yes, sir.
Remember, it's not how we spend the money, it's how we invest the money.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
And we
that's
wanna-
important.
We want to invest it wisely so
We
that,
plan to make money with
It's
our
gonna
money.
take us to the future. you know.
that's exactly right,
And-
Commissioner.
And it affects EDC in so many ways, just for the broadband side, you know.
Right.
I know that the city was working on a project or in conjunction with some money they're trying to obtain, so it's important that we include the municipalities so we don't duplicate stuff, so.
Yes.
And we'll have those conversations, we'll make sure that we're not doing that, so just so you'll know what we're doing.
And that's part of the collaboration. Let's, you know, let's not duplicate projects. Let's use the resources together and make one big project.
I know,
So that's real important.
Yolanda and I went to a meeting at the COG, and they told us there was a rural community in Brazos that did some kind of project for the broadband, because of course, like she said, the Treasury is pushing us to use, because if the schools close, all the kids in the rural areas need to be able to access internet. And I know I live in the rural area, and our internet service
Yeah, and that might be
is
something, you
not
know,
good at all.
you could, you know, collaborate with, you know, some of the other government entities, you know, and
There's a lot of people out there right now in broadband that are extending and pushing this out.
And you don't, there's not only the American Rescue Act, there's separate monies for broadband.
Yes,
So
That's
sir.
correct.
yes, ma'am.
we could do that and still
Yes.
not even use that money.
And part of my responsibilities is I showed y'all some of the different funding sources also. I'm looking into those to, if we don't, you know, get some, all that, we can't obviously do all the projects, but definitely if there's some projects that we could, you know, apply for through some of these other funding sources, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be working hard to try to get as many projects for the commissioners in Jim Wells County.
Well, we have to come to a conclusion. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, line item number 18. Discuss and possible Commissioners Court action to adopt guidelines and criteria governing the granting of tax abatement agreement in reinvestment zone created in and for Jim Wells County.
Commissioners, this is what we had the public hearing on. This is one of the items that we had the public hearing on just prior to this meeting. The guidelines and criteria should be attached in your packets. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions on it, I can try to answer them. Also, Mr. Stephen Van Dyke is present there in the courtroom. And he is a representative of the company that has expressed interest in relocating to Jim Wells County. These guidelines and criteria are not specific to that particular company, though. These would be adopted and will be applicable to any company that wishes to relocate to Jim Wells County and meets the criteria for creation of jobs and stimulation of the economy that would basically qualify them for the tax abatements that are outlined in the guidelines and criteria.
My name's Stephen Van Dyke. Is it okay if we go ahead and kind of present the company and present the project and think
Yes.
the reason that we are here is to talk about the guidelines and criteria is that, like I said, my name's Stephen Van Dyke. I'm a tax consultant. I help companies kind of navigate the 313, which is the ISD or the school side, and the 312s, which is the county side, to secure incentives. This is Colin Brown with Advanced Power. They have a potential.
Excuse me. Can you unmute that mic, Robert? Can you unmute the speaker's mic, Robert? Thank you. No.
Yeah, turn it on. It's not on.
It's on, it's on.
Okay. Is that okay?
No, it's still showing that you're muted.
Is that better? Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. I was just explaining who I am, and I'm introducing Colin Brown with Advanced Power. They have a potential solar project, and I'll let him kind of talk about the company and the project. And then Tommy is also with Advanced Power. He has some handouts, if you don't mind handing those out to the Commissioner's Court, so you guys can kind of follow along, and then we can talk about the abatements and the 312 process after he gets done talking.
Thanks, Stephen, and thank you all for having us today. Like Stephen said, my name is Colin Brown. I'm with Advanced Power. We are the owners and the current developers of the Talitha Energy Project, which is a proposed 170 megawatt solar plus battery storage project located here in Jim Wells County, closer to Orange Grove. What I'd like to do right now is just give you a little bit of background about Advanced Power, who we are as a company, and then a little overview of the project as well, which is the impetus for the guidelines that you all be considering. So Tommy, my colleague, Tommy Browder, provided you all with these slides. I'll just go through them quickly. You can read them more in depth. And I'll be happy to answer any questions either later at the end of the presentation or at any time. My contact and Tommy's contact information is on the last page of the slide deck, so feel free to contact us. But Advanced Power is kind of your traditional independent power producer. What we do is we develop, we finance, we own, and we manage large utility scale power projects throughout US and Europe. We've been around for about 20 years. I think that the key takeaway from the slide, page 5, is we have a very competitive and strong track record of developing, financing, and managing projects similar to the one that we're proposing here in Jim Wells County. Specifically, since about 2015, we as a company have done over $5 billion and 3,000 megawatts of projects throughout the U.S. That includes combined cycle natural gas projects, and as well as our most recent success of a similarly sized project, solar project in Fort Bend County that we just completed the development of and financing of at the end of April, 140 megawatt solar project, which is now in construction. And what we're looking to do is kind of repeat that success on a similar project here in Jim Wells County. On page 6, just an overview of all of our assets. We've got over 7,000 megawatts of projects either in development, construction, or operation throughout North America and Europe. What we do is we look at, across those markets, constantly evaluating where we think projects, where we can develop and finance and manage successful projects. We look at the markets across both of those continents. I think it's important to note that, we've not only identified Texas as a place where we want to have a presence, but specifically identified Jim Wells County as a place to develop and construct and operate a facility like this. On page 8, one thing that we like to highlight and pride ourselves on is we are, not only do we develop projects, we also do all the financing, but we manage the projects long-term. So we view ourselves as long-term partners and members of the communities where we develop and construct and operate projects. We have a different business model than some other developers might have, where they come in and have a very short-term focus. We take a different approach and have a very long-term focus as it relates to our projects and the communities that we place those projects. On page 10, just kind of an overview of the Talitha Energy project itself. Obviously it's located in Jim Wells County, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. But specifically, like I said, it's located close to Orange Grove. If you're familiar with that part of the county, there's a substation right off of 359 that we're proposing to tie into. So our facility site, approximately 920 acres, located very close to that substation, and we'd construct the facility on that 920 acres, and then have a short new interconnecting transmission line to go into that existing substation. Project's about 175 megawatts. We're going through the design of the facility right now with a proposed 60 megawatt 2-hour battery storage project associated with it. Right now we're contemplating starting construction sometime in second quarter of next year with a roughly 12-month construction schedule. So operations to start sometime in 2023 after we complete the construction. Page 11, another just kind of overview of the project. Like I said, we'll be interconnecting into that existing substation, which is owned by STEC. And we're in the process of, like I said, completing the design and all of the equipment procurement and construction contractor selection. And then we'll be going through the financing. On page 12, this is just kind of a high-level overview of our schedule and where we are right now. So we're in the process of going through, like I said, our design of the facility, working our way through the interconnection process with ERCOT, and then obviously working with you all and the Orange Grove ISD on the tax agreements. So we're anticipating having those completed by the end of the year, and then working through our financing, hopefully getting that complete, like I said, by early part of 2022, and then a roughly 12-month construction schedule thereafter, and beginning operations sometime in 2023. And that's all of the prepared slides I have. Like I said, my contact information is there on the last slide. You can call or email me at any point in time. I guess just a couple things as it relates to the 312 agreement. On this project, we're looking at roughly $120 million of investment into the county, about 150 construction jobs during that 12-month phase, and probably one long-term permanent job of around $65,000 a year. So a well-paying FTE.
How many jobs were they?
Roughly 150 during the construction period.
That'd be local?
What we do is typically we like to hire local. That's not my personal decision to make, but certainly we like to hire local and encourage our contractors to make local hires. Certainly it benefits from a cost perspective to hire locally. So I think, as a general rule of thumb, everybody's incented to hire local.
Are there any questions about the project or the company? I guess I just wanted to be kind of, so everybody's on the same page. What you guys are voting on today is nothing to do essentially with us. It's just creating the guidelines and criteria that we'd be able to send in an application, and then we could begin talking about it. We give much more detail, what he's given, impacts, et cetera. Kevin O'Hanlon with the O'Hanlon Law Firm has been helping out Mr. Guerra develop these, and he'll help out with the application. This is merely just kind of opening the door so we can start talking with you guys to try and get these incentives. These incentives, like, Colin can attest to, it's a very competitive market. Without these incentives, and especially incentives from the school, the project may not come to fruition. It's a very tight timeline, not tight timeline, but tight economically to develop these projects and operate without these, because all the other school districts and everything are getting these types of projects, and it's counties, and it makes it much harder to sell this project or to do a PPA or something like that whenever they don't have these types of incentives. So we'll get more financial impact info in the application to kind of give you guys a idea of how it would affect the county. Or are people familiar with abatements, percentage abatements, pilot payments? Kind of the old version was a percentage abatement where you would abate it for 75% for the 10 years. They've kind of gone to a more pilot payment.
You would probably have to get with our attorney.
Yeah.
It usually, abatement works, according to how many people you hire.
Okay.
If you hire 500 people,
Sure.
the abatement's better. Hire 50, it's less.
Right.
So, but that's, I couldn't give you a.
Okay, we'll look at the guidelines and criteria, and we'll go based off that, and we can
Right.
circle back after we file the application.
Right. Anyway, it'll show up in the application.
Sure, sounds great.
Michael, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we want to adopt the guidelines and table the resolution. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. I was just double checking that the guidelines aren't called a resolution, but yes, we want to go ahead and adopt number 18, which are the guidelines and criteria. And at this time, we're recommending tabling number 19 until we get a property description of the proposed zone. Because in order to create the zone, we have to be able to delineate its boundaries. So we're not ready for that yet. So number 19, we're recommending tabling. Number 18, we recommend, unless y'all have any more questions, to adopt.
Mark, do you want to make a motion to adopt?
Yes, I make a
Guidelines?
motion to adopt the guidelines and criteria governing the granting of tax abatement agreements.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And line item number 19, it's just a resolution that we're going to table. Do I entertain a motion for that?
I make a motion to adopt, to table.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to table line item number 19. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The rest, okay, motions take to table. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We look forward to talking with you.
Yes, they need legal description. Okay, line item number 20. Okay. Consider and take action to accept the resignation of Rosa Gonzalez from the position of Commissioner of Jim Wells County, ESD number 2.
Yes, sir. She's resigning from the position as the ESD board. So I'll make a motion to accept the items presented.
Second.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
She second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 21, consider and take action to appoint Commissioner of Jim Wells County ESD number 2 to fill the unexpired term of Rosa Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. At this time, there's a gentleman by the name of Joe Anthony Perez. They would like to appoint
Pettis,
commissioner for the ESD. Joe Anthony Perez.
Patrick Thomas is there.
Patrick,
go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, I'm just here for support if you have any questions on Ms. Gonzalez or Joe Anthony Perez as well. But I've been in communication with Commissioner Gonzalez, Huicho, and so we're on the same page.
so I'd like to make a motion to accept the Joe Anthony Perez as a commissioner for ESD number 2.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, line item number 22, consider and take actions to approve the consolidation of voting precinct, designation of polling locations and adopting an order for the November 2nd, 2021 constitutional amendment election.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Richard Guerra from the Elections Office. This is a follow-up from last Commissioner's Court. We've subsequently contracted with Alice ISD, who's going to be running a concurrent bond election with us. So we will have the same consolidated 4 precincts on election day, plus 5 new choices that the ISD wanted, including the Alice Public Library, Nair Elementary, Shallard Elementary, Science Elementary, and the Jim Wells County building, which is precinct 22. And you can also see the notice and the order that are there, and also the governor's proclamation for the 8 proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution for November 2nd.
Any questions?
I make a motion to approve
I'll
the
second.
consolidation.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Line item number 23. Okay, consider and take action to authorize Commissioner Margie Gonzalez to apply for a planning grant and identify location within the county for future drainage projects. Man, this has been a long agenda, you know.
So we know that we've been informed that there's going to be additional funding of billions of dollars from the General Land Office for infrastructure of drainage. And last week I spoke to a GLO representative talking about the different areas where we still have a lot of flooding. And I had, we have about 6 areas right now that I wanted to go ahead and get it engineered, studied, so that when the monies become available, when you have a plan or you can show the proof, that's how you can get the monies. And so we did areas in Tecolote and County Road 170, and we did the area in Huicho's, what is it, 487? What road is it? Where the Martinez's live?
467.
467. And so, so now we need to apply to help pay for all the engineering studies. So that's what this is. And we know that the USDA has money, but the gentleman from the General Land Office also gave us a couple of other grant funding sources for planning and engineering studies.
I'd like to make a motion to accept item number 23 as presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Line item number 24, discuss and consider year 2021 proposed tax rate and take record vote. If necessary, set date for public hearing. Were you gonna speak on this, Cindy? You might wanna get the other mic over there. There you go.
Thank you. As you know, every year, the taxing jurisdictions have to determine their tax rate for the coming year. and it's based on what your budget is. First, you have to actually finalize your budget, and then once your budget is finalized, then we have to determine what tax rate will fund that budget. What we're looking at right now is a proposed tax rate. Now, the proposed tax rate is simply a starting point, something that you're looking at to have the auditor's office and the various commissioners work together to see how much money you're actually going to need, but at least it gives you a starting point. And from what I understand, the proposed rate that's being considered right now is keeping the same tax rate that you have, which is 0.787580, well, 81 actually. That's the current rate that you have right now. Now, you're going to hear some terminology in these notices like the no new revenue rate. That's what used to be called the effective tax rate. The effective tax rate, by definition, it is simply a tax rate that will generate the same amount of revenue as you generated the previous year, but only from the same properties being taxed in both years. So even if you adopt just the effective rate, or the no new revenue rate as it's now called, it would still be an increase in your levy, your tax levy, because you have new property value that is going to be assessed for the first time this year that was not assessed previously. Overall, this year, I think Jim Wells County had an increase of 3.38% overall increase, which is roughly a little over $69 million. So that new property value that's encompassed in there is not included in the effective rate, because the effective rate's only looking at the same properties taxed in both years. But something else I wanted to make you all aware of that new property value, $31 million of that new property value was due to drilling rigs that were brought into Jim Wells County from other areas that are just being stacked here. They're not in use, they're just being stacked at the yard, but they do have a lot of value. But as quickly as those things come in, they can be moved out. So they're here right now and they're taxable right now, but they could be gone by next year. There's no way of knowing. It just depends whether they get utilized or not and where they're going to be sent out to. So don't be fooled by that large amount of increase in your tax base, because 31 million of it could disappear, in the next few days. You just don't know. So right now, as I said, what's being considered is a proposed tax rate of keeping it basically the same as what you have it right now. The only thing is, you have to, when you actually adopt the tax rates, you're adopting them by each fund, your general fund, your special road and bridge, and your flood control and lateral road. Because the general fund has a debt service, and every year your debt service payments may change a little bit because of the principal and interest owing for any given time, the debt service amount as calculated with this year's levy is actually a little bit lower than what it currently is right now. Currently, your debt service tax rate is 0.012334. The calculated debt service rate for this coming year is going to be a little bit less than that. It's going to be 0.011985. which allows you to have a little bit more money in your maintenance and operation fee. But again, it all depends on what you ultimately need to fund your budget after you decide, after your workshops and budget meetings, how much money you actually need to operate for the next year. That will make the determination as to what tax rate is needed to fund that amount of budget. The highest that you can possibly go is the 0.808974 without the possibility of what's called a voter approval, the rollback election. That's where the voters can petition. Well, actually now it's automatic. If you exceed the roll, it used to be they had to petition to get that rollback election, but now the laws have changed. If you exceed that rollback rate, the rollback election has to happen automatically. But that's not being considered right now. The most rate that's being considered is the 0.78. And again, whatever tax rate you propose at this time, when you actually adopt it, later on, you can always come down from what your proposed rate is, but you cannot go up from the proposed rate that you initially published. So it's always best to give yourself a little wiggle room to allow yourself to be able to come down, because if you were to adopt the lowest rate that you could possibly do, and then you find out you actually need more money than that, you would have to go through the whole process all over again. And to do it between now and the end of September, you're not going to have enough time. By law, you have to adopt your tax rate by the end of September. If you do not, then it automatically becomes either the current no new revenue rate or last year's tax rate, whichever is lower. And in this case, it would be the lower amount, which is the no new revenue rate this year. So you have to adopt before the end of September. Otherwise, it will automatically be the 0.771880. As we said, at this point, you're just voting to consider, and it is a record vote. Okay, each one has to vote individually, and the ad that has to be appeared in the paper is going to say how you voted on that ad, whether you were for it, against it, were present and didn't vote, or were absent from the meeting. Kind of give you a heads up.
Okay, I make a motion to vote for the proposed tax rate of 0.787580.
Margie, didn't he say it was 0.81 at the very end?
0.81. I think that's a typo. It should be 0.81. I'll have it fixed, but it should be 0.787581.
Okay.
81, yeah.
Okay, so I make a motion to adopt the proposed tax rate of 0.787581.
I had to do these rather quickly. My system was not working properly, and I entered in a wrong digit at the end.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
It'll be a record vote.
Aye.
Margie?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the judge is not here, so he'll have no vote.
Shown as absent on
Yeah,
the
absent.
notice.
I guess absent, no, would be the,
I'll get this thing finalized and I'll send it over to Noe so that he can review it and make sure everything is the way the Commissioners Court wants it, and then we'll have it publicized in the paper. It only has to appear 7 days before your meeting, but you also will have to set the date, time, and place of when you're going to be having the meeting to vote on the proposed budget and your proposed tax rate. That has to be included in the ad as well. I think on this one, right now, we put September the 24th. And if that's what you all are considering, you would just need to make a motion to that effect to set the date, the time, and the place.
I think there's a line item for that, Sydney.
Okay. I thought it was part of this agenda item.
No, yes, it is, to set the date. Yes. So in the motion, I have to say.
Well, you can
and
make
to
a
set-
separate motion, but it just,
Okay.
you just have to make a
So I make a motion to set the date of September the 24th, 10 a.m.
I'll second.
the Commissioners Court.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying
As a Commissioner's Court, yes.
it's the Commissioner's Court, okay?
Do we have to do a record vote
No,
again?
ma'am,
No,
that doesn't
okay.
have to be a record vote. It's only on the proposed tax rate that has to be a record
Okay.
vote.
I think the time is earlier.
No,
Yeah, on the 24th. If you, I think Linda attached a workshop schedule, and I believe it starts at 9.
Well, you can have your workshop before it, then are you gonna like?
I'm sorry,
Recess the workshop and then start the regular meeting? Is that how you
Maybe-
typically do it?
I guess it will be a regular meeting then? Okay, then it'll be 10, I'm sorry.
so what do you want to do, Cindy?
Get a vote?
Yeah, it'll be 10 then.
10
That's
a.m.
correct.
Okay.
Continue.
Just, we
You get a vote?
we don't need to do a record vote, we just need to do the vote.
Yeah.
All in favor?
There's
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Okay. Discuss, we're in line item number 25, discuss and consider 2022 proposed budget.
Y'all have seen the proposed budget, right? Y'all have gone over it. At this time, we'll just discuss and consider it. We still have to go through the workshops. We'll still just consider everything that requests and everything else that might come up. And we'll work with the others to make sure we have it done. But at this point, it's like a starting point.
So I make a motion to adopt the proposed budget
With the.
for 2022.
Yeah, with the proposed rate that we voted on. Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Okay, now we gotta consider
The schedule.
the
she put it
schedule,
in there.
but, yeah, she put it in here. Okay, we have August 17th. Proposed budget,
Council President.
okay, August 22nd, 27, discuss it, okay, at 10 a.m.
The workshops
Yeah,
begin.
yeah, okay, the workshops begin on September the 8th at 9 a.m.
8 or 9?
Yeah, and,
There's 9
This
or
is
here.
wrong, because it's supposed to be the 9th, right?
9?
yeah,
The 7th and the 9th?
okay.
9th and the
there-
14th?
okay,
The 9th and the 14th.
14?
Oh, yes.
It says
okay,
9 and
there's
14
two
here.
of them, there's, okay.
And that still says September the 8th.
September the 8th, so that's gonna be the other one's the 10th,
It'll be the 9th and the 14th.
Yeah,
9th and the 14th now.
Monday and Friday.
Okay, this one has, so this one be the 9th. And this one be the 14th,
14th on
Friday
Saturday.
and Monday.
Saturday?
okay.
Friday and Monday.
Yeah.
That's a Friday.
I'm showing the 9th to be a Thursday and the 14th a Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thursday and
it-
Tuesday.
Thursday and Tuesday is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the 24th, that might be a typo because she may have copied that from last year's schedule. And remember, last year, we were still having the second meeting of the month at 9 a.m. before we decided to make them all at 10.
Yeah, but we had said 10 a.m.
Okay.
So September 24th is okay?
Yes.
September 24th.
And just to clarify, is that at 10 or at 9?
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Change that to 10 a.m.
Michael, do we also at this point, put into the notes that, we have to schedule a second meeting before the end of the month in case something happens at this meeting? We usually post them twice. In case this doesn't happen, we have enough time to post it again.
And it was gonna be on the 27th.
And on 27th, but we posted for the regular one, then we have another one, just in case that one does not, we cannot finish, but we have to finish it for the month itself, we already have it.
So we're gonna post a meeting for the 27th at 10 a.m., just in case we need it.
Yes.
There you go. Now that we're completely confused. Anyway,
No.
okay, well, I think we got all the dates right. JC, you got all the dates right? Okay.
Commissioner's Court, I just want to say something that Auditor's Office wants to thank Sidney. He's always very good, works with us very well, the appraisal district. During this time period, he comes in, I bring him in because he can discuss everything for y'all. So I do want to say that I appreciate.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it.
We gotta make a motion to adopt.
Okay.
Need to make a motion.
You made a motion already?
No,
made a
we
motion?
didn't make a motion.
Okay, make a motion on line item 26.
I make a motion to adopt the budget process schedule.
I'll second it. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay. Okay, item 27, consider approving treasurer's report and other monthly reports.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Item 28, consider approving county auditor's report.
I have already submitted the reports, if you all have seen them. Okay, I'll go over the monthly report, the county auditor's monthly report. In the revenues, through the end of July, they have collected 90% of the general. Overall, with all the accounts, they have collected 87% of the revenue that we forecast in the budget. Expenditures, all of the different departments are listed. The general fund at this point has an expenditure amount of 53. Anybody with an expenditure amount over 58 should contact me in case we can go over why they're over 58. Overall, with everybody, all the departments, general fund, everybody, our budget is 27,319,193.20, and we have actually spent 13,844,242.25, or 51%, giving us a positive variance of 7%. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Noah.
Did we already make
Make
a
a motion to approve item number 28 presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, line item passes. Okay. Consider approving payroll and bills as submitted by the county clerk, with the exception of Fund 52, 53, and 54.
I make a motion to approve.
So motion?
Second.
A second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Commissioners,
Yes, sir.
don't forget, we have a meeting, a special meeting on the 31st, next Tuesday at 1:30. It'll be a one item agenda to fill out the public member positions of the salary grievance committee that we'll need for address a salary grievance.
Thank you, Michael.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, we already did.
Oh, we already did.
You want to
I need,
second it?
I'll second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay, we're adjourned.
Long meeting.
Hijo, man.